Cosmic codes are given for receiving additional information by meditating on them.
Не секрет, что словарь ииссиидиологических терминов, он постоянно растет и пополняется новыми терминами, и достаточно сложно запомнить.
There is no secret that vocabulary of Iissiidiological terms expands permanently and involves new terms. They are quite difficult to keep in mind and use in speech. To what extent it will be rightly to use these terms while talking to people if people feel tensors and rejection? Yes, it is useful, but there are synonyms. It is always possible to find any similar conceptions while talking to someone. You see, if someone began to talk to you in incomprehensible language or put any Latin expressions in his speech, whose meaning you do not follow absolutely, it would upset you or get you angry at least. You would tell such man, either you talk to me normally, or there is no use talking to each other, because I comprehend not everything. That is adaptation of information has to be, hasn't it? Yes, narrate everything in your own words and take into consideration that a man might understand not everything. Find the words which would be comprehensible to him. Even put the word refocusing. It is clear to us. It seems to us that it's something usual, normal, but it doesn't to any other person. But you must find other words, explain and spoon-feed, if you also have the necessity in doing that. For example, you can say the following: when your interest changes for another interest, you become a part of another interest. There the word refocusing is replaced by such explanation. If it's not clear to a person, what is the interest? So you need to find an explanation for the interest. But only if you really need that a person could understand you. As for terms, when I use it, I know that many of you comprehend these notions. Sometimes I use some term expressly for you to understand me, not to note it, and to start sorting out when having come home. Well, what is revitalization? Амицерация, консуматизация. Thereby, I provoke any interest of yours. If your hands or eyes went to studying Iissiidiology, so you have the interest in doing this. Therefore, I can notice this fact, provoke a new piece of your interest, and use it to strengthen your interest even more by different means. But people who you communicate with know nothing. They haven't read anything. Their conceptions are totally different from yours. So, for them it appears that you show off when you use such words. To make a brilliant display. I am so smart, but you are not. But what is your smarts really? Show me it. Is it in that you have only learned these words and haven't kept in mind the meaning behind them? Sometimes surrounding people get frightened, you know? I wouldn't call it fear, it is rejection of all that. If you misunderstand speech through the word, does it make sense to continue the conversation generally? For what? For to brag about these unknown phrases, words, that is all? Merely these words are from future. These terms belong to future, but these people do not belong thereof still. You have already stepped partly to future. Having included these terms and conceptions in your configurations, they already structure that more qualitative future. But these people have not started to do it yet. They have heard nothing about this opportunity. Generally, codes exist not for learning. They are given for meditating on them. When you would have reached the state capable for practicing the deepest meditation, you will need configurations. Every code is a configuration, such as that we discussed before while talking about pyramids. For example, I tune to definite configuration of any pyramid and see how it was constructed, grown up, moved, and structured. Further, from the pyramid, I can move to some horizontal scenarios. I can investigate the social system. In other words, I can receive information about all around those pyramids, about people, and so forth. The same is for codes. When you tune to any sound code, so the multitude of something unknown to you appears, in varying degrees for everyone. For making this code easy to understand, various geometric figures may appear. One of them may seem to you more understandable than the others. You will catch this geometric figure and start to enter into it. Having entered into it, as if flown, you will see something in front of you that will represent more specific constituent of this configuration, figure. It will be comprehensible to you to more or less extent. You will catch what you will perceive to the greatest extent. Again, something else, much more comprehensible, will reveal for you. That means deeper? Not always deeper. On the contrary, the more understandable thing is perceived more superficially. It is divided into more discrete parts of information which may resonate kavalertna, which is more compatibly with any part of your conceptions. As soon as you could catch something that resonated with some your conception, then you will be able to examine all of this. Well, it is. But it will be only an endless part of the sound code which you entered into during meditation. You know that there are lots of codes. As I'm working on fundamentals of Iissiidiology, the amount of codes grows up. There are various possibilities. Codes are what I could not express anyhow. Or they are sources for the information that is beyond description, or is beyond the limits of our form's perception. Generally, there are some protoform, not human conceptions, which are not inherent to people, and so forth. But it is present. Layers of information? Yes, it can be said also in this way that informational layers are the huge Slagrand files. When you enter into a file, you may move from one sound code to another insensibly, even not knowing about the movement. When you return from meditation, actually, quite another code will shine in your self-consciousness than the first one, which you have entered into. You should find the bridge, passage, connecting link which have tied this and that sound codes. Again, you should deepen into the primary sound code more consciously. Where is something that tied this code with another one? Yet, this and that are connected. This occurs in this way. That is completely misunderstandable. Hard as you try to enter into some informational layers, the synthesis scheme does not permit to do it. There everything is structured quite differently. There is no excess. There is pure protoform of another virgulartность type. It is like closed doors. They are closed and you have no key. But there are doors with cracks. It is possible to try to open them or take a glance on what is behind them. But you cannot comprehend anything, because there are images of something absent in your synthesis scheme. You needn't remember codes, but terms are necessary to keep in mind, because terms belong to more qualitative future. If you use this term and understand them deeply, you will more and more resonate with yourself, who easily manipulates them in the future. Their terms are so clear and comprehensible, as well as our current conceptions are understandable for us.